So for our oil pastels, there's different ways you can use them. So if you use the edge of the pastel, which is the more or less corner side of it, and then the side of the pastel, which has more surface area, those are two different types of ways you can make marks. So if you use the side that is a little bit more pointed or more controlled, that's good for small areas. And then if you use the top of the oil pastel or the actual side, there still might be paper there. That is a great way to get a lot of big surface areas covered. Okay, so that is essentially mark making with oil pastels. The second section is something that you're very familiar with by now. It's mixing the primary colors to make a secondary. I'm using red. However, you can use red and yellow, you can use red and blue, or you can use yellow and blue. And you're going to mix it just like I do in the video. It should mix in the middle, like a actual Venn diagram. And I recommend to clean off any of the oil pastels throughout your project. Either use a scrap paper or you can use a paper towel. And you just keep wiping it off until it is nice and clean. So make sure you're constantly cleaning the oil pastels. Now for the section 3, again, something you're very familiar with. You're going to make a value scale. Pick any color except yellow. And notice how I'm holding it. My pointer finger is essentially where all of my pressure is coming from. So if I'm pressing more into the paper, it's going to be darker. And the lighter I'm pressing with my pointer finger, it's going to get lighter and lighter, which is what we want for our value scales. And essentially, once you've completed a value scale and you're happy with the value transitions, then you should be set for blending. I'm just going to keep using green. And I'm going to essentially fast forward as well. And you can see that it is basically another value scale. And the easiest way for me to blend is just to turn the paper and do the same thing from the other direction. You don't want to just stop where they meet. You want to keep overlapping because that's the best way to blend. For the next section, again, you're just practicing. I'm using red, and then the second color I'm using to blend is orange. In the directions, you can practice more than just 2 colors. So if you wanted to practice yellow, orange, and red, you're welcome to. But again, blending should be used with analogous colors. That way it makes it easier to blend. Don't use colors that are opposites or just really bad contrasting, because then it won't blend. So that is essentially how you blend. It's just another value scale. Now this might be unfamiliar for some of you. So Scruffito is when you are scratching the surface. So I just took any color, in this case blue, and that is what the toothpicks on your table are for. So I'm just scratching a little heart. And you don't have to do this next step, but I wanted to show you the 2 different types of ways that you could essentially do a Scruffito. So that's with the darker color. There's a lot of contrast. And then with this one, I took 2 different colors, essentially a red and then an orange. And then again, I'm just scraping the surface, just making a letter I. And you are welcome to just do one, or you can do what I do where I did 2 different colors. But Scruffitoing is going to be really great for cleaning up any edges throughout your project. The last section before the practice section is to create a sphere. And not just only because I love the color green, but because I used the green for my value scale practice section, I think it was only fitting to continue doing green. Because basically when you are doing a sphere, it is a value scale. And I did a time lapse, that way you didn't have to see me do everything step by step. But I used the 3 different types of greens. I cannot count. I used the base green, a limey green, and then the darker green. And I'm constantly going back and forth with all the colors to blend them out. And for the shadow, I used the dark green. This last section is for you to practice. Feel free to use any colors you'd like, and that's how you use oil pastels.